Have you ever wondered what happened to Fugo after he was left behind
Oh, we watching this. But hold on, let's watch this shit while I eat.
in Golden Wind, unable to find the courage to join his friends in their defection against Passione? Or what Passione looked like after Diavolo was defeated and Giorno became the boss? Well, that is the story of Purple Haze Feedback, locally known as Purple Smoke Distortion, an original work that offers a catharsis to Panicotta Fugo's unfinished arc, and offers him a shot at redemption through a near-death sentence of a mission to finally prove his loyalty to Giorno and the new Passione. All he has to do is track down and eliminate the remaining members of old Passione's narcotics team, or Sezione Droga, who are a group of some of the most lethal stand users we've ever seen before. But Fugo won't go it alone, as he's teamed up with other stand users that Giorno feels also need a mission of their own. This story is a light novel written by Kohei Kodono, although the original concept and artwork are done by JoJo's author Hirohiko Araki, and adds so much depth to Fugo in the world of Golden Wind, it's the closest to canon a spin-off can get. I'll be breaking down every stand and the other stand-like powers within this story, which has many new and some returning faces. I'll be going in order of stand's full reveals, explaining their abilities, the stand user, and their music references. Although to make things simple, every single new stand is a reference to a Jimi Hendrix song, which highlights how everything revolves around the protagonist, Fugo, and his purple haze. So let's find the courage to take that first step and enter the timid and traitorous experience of Purple Haze Feedback. Our story begins 6 months after the events of Part 5, and see that Fugo has been laying low ever since, isolating himself and playing music at a bar. Although his past eventually catches up with him and he's summoned by the organization to meet at the Stadio Giuseppe Meazza, a massive football arena in northern Italy, which had been completely cleared out by the Speedwagon Foundation, a name Fugo had noticed was on a blimp flying overhead. So since Giorno has taken over, he's established a connection with the Foundation, and Passione now has some access to their resources. This arena is where Fugo would meet with Guido Mista. This scene carries quite a bit of hostility.
He met with Mista? Number 6, number 7.
As Fugo questions if he's walking into his own execution, and throughout this conversation, they both brandish their stands. Sex Pistols, the stand made up of 6 human-like bullets that can redirect Mista's bullets, and Purple Haze, the reflection of Fugo's internal rage, which carries a deadly virus that could kill even its own user. So same as you remember them from Part 5. And Fugo's story is set into motion with one simple quote from Mista: "To prove you're not our enemy, you need to go kill our enemy. If you can't do that, then I'll kill you."
Mista was like that? Look, I know Mista was a demon, but damn. He said off rip, if you one of us, you better go kill the enemy right now.
Before we go any further, a word from this video's sponsor, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Spirit. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Spirit is a new and upcoming mobile RPG based on the JoJo anime series that features characters from parts 1 through 6 in a beautifully faithful art style. In JoJo's Golden Spirit, you'll be able to experience this bizarre adventure like never before with high fidelity.
When this shit came out? When this video came out?
3D characters, stands, and environments.
To this day, I'll never know why Bucciarati licked Giorno like that. This motherfucker legit went in and said, like he really licked, bro. And he never did that shit again throughout the whole series.
With compelling storylines based on the original anime. In this RPG, you can unlock more than 50 iconic JoJo characters and create your own team of stand users. Use strategy to win battles that let you—
I could get Koichi! SHIT! Freeze 3! Bro, hold on.
You explore JoJo in a whole new way, and you can even create your own spin-off stories with whatever team you decide to put together, like bringing Fugo into the fights that he missed out on. As you play, you can level up your team and evolve your stands to unlock their signature abilities, and I'm personally most excited about the art style and combat.
I'm scared they're about to show a Star Ocean spoiler. I'm skipping. I'm scared they're about to show a Star Ocean spoiler, please. Don't show me no Star Ocean. Star Planetum.
Southern Italy, at a warehouse in Villa San Giovanni, we are introduced to the narcotics team and the first enemy stand. Dolly Dagger is a bound-type stand which materializes its unique shape onto a physical antique dagger from the Napoleonic era. When active, the blade shines like a mirror and is able to cast its ability on anyone reflected within the blade. When you are the target of this stand's effect, any damage received by the user is partially deflected through a 70-30% split, meaning as long as someone or something is within Dolly Dagger, the user only takes 30% of damage damage, and the target receives the remaining 70%. This damage can be self-inflicted by the user, making it like a much better version of Highway to Hell, but overall significantly reduces all damage taken, making the user incredibly resilient with a habit to self-harm. This ability can even deflect the power of other stands. For example, when facing off against Saleh, who possessed Craftwork, a returning stand that could freeze things in place and store kinetic energy, Saleh touches the user's heart, but through Dolly Dagger's effect, their heart only skips a few beats. Meanwhile, Saleh's is ripped straight from his chest.
This shit got no spoilers, right? To the arc I'm currently watching. We should be fine. Yes? Alright, please. I don't want to get spoiled as shit.
Dagger's user is Vittorio Cataldi, whose name is in reference to the Italian singer Mariana Cataldi, and his ability of deflection stems from Vittorio's immaturity and strong desire to shift blame and avoid responsibility. During this first encounter with the drug team, as previously mentioned, Saleh and Kraftwerk return, but also his partner Mario Zucchero, the victim of the notorious torture dance. And like Fugo, these two had been fulfilling orders from Giorno in order to prove their loyalty, but ultimately end up as—
He came back? The melted eye motherfucker, yo, they brought him back? No way, bro.
fodder for the drug team. Although Zucchero sticks around a bit longer, but is essentially turned into a mindless puppet and forced to remain in a deflated state caused by his stand's soft machine that can apply elastic balloon-like properties to people and objects. And in this state, while under the effects of another stand, is barely conscious but still able to follow rudimentary orders and have these reflexive responses, but is pretty much just a tool for the villains to use throughout the story and moves around like a snake reacting on instincts, but ultimately succumbs to the horrible side effects of the next stand on the list. Manic Depression is among the most formidable stands in JoJo that doesn't belong to the leader of the drug team, but is by far the most dangerous stand in this story. It's even stated that Giorno could have settled for the rest of the team escaping, and the true goal of Fugo's mission was to ensure that this stand user was killed. This user also acts as the main villain and in many ways mirrors Fugo in Purple Haze. He's even told that he shouldn't fight unless he has to, and that he could rule over all of humankind with such an ability. Manic Depression is the stand responsible for Passione's drug empire, as its ability was to produce an opioid-like solution that could be injected into people straight from the stand's umbilical cord-like stinger. Or the solution could be separated from the stand and later mixed with salt and water to create a special drug with similar but greater effects to existing illegal drugs, and with far worse withdrawals that commonly resulted in death, which ensured the customers stayed hooked. So this stand was the key to Passione's rise to power and was kept top secret to all but Diavolo. When at close range, the user has far greater control over its power. It can be used as treatment for specific diseases, or more like a virus that overwhelms and destroys the body from the inside out, or it can even be mass injected into the user to temporarily overcharge the body, offering physical strength comparable to vampires in JoJo. And the drugs created from this stand will maintain their mixture for a couple of weeks, but eventually revert back to just salt, making it impossible for any rival crews to steal, hoard, or copy the product. Manic Depression's user is Massimo Volpe, the younger brother of Antonio Volpe, who later changed his name to Trussardi and opened an Italian restaurant in Morio. And due to these brothers' drastically different upbringings and outlooks on life, develop polar opposite abilities. Pearl Jam rejuvenates life while Manic Depression suffocates it. And this incredibly bleak and destructive ability stems from Massimo's overall apathy towards life itself, and a desire to infect the world with his Manic Depression. All Along the Watchtower is the first of Fugo's allies and is a colony-type stand that possesses a deck of 53 playing cards that act similar to Sex Pistols, all having an individual personality and develop a hierarchy based on their numbers and suits. Its ability at first appears to be fortune-telling, like a second sight similar to spirit photographs. The user will create a house of cards, and in a very theatrical manner the cards will come to life and perform a song and dance to tell the user about their visions. Although near the end of the story, we find out that this ability was actually a deception used to keep the user's true potential hidden. The truth is, this stand has no clairvoyance or second sight, rather each card has an extremely long range and can move about autonomously, making the stand perfect for surveillance and executions. So their whole song and dance were just retelling information it had already obtained. It said only the boss knew about its true power and would use it in secret to eliminate traitors. All Along the Watchtower's user is Canolo Morolo, the leader of Passione's data analysis team, and throughout the events of Part 5, he was secretly helping La Squadra get information on the boss, and was unknowingly working against the Bucciarati team. When Giorno takes over, Merlo feels shame for his actions and is sent on this mission to atone for his disloyalty, although in theme with the character always keeping secrets, his true mission will be revealed later on. And because all along the Watchtower is a colony type stand, Merlo has incredible durability and can distribute damage taken between all 53 cards, which comes in handy. Merlo also brings up an interesting fact about these types of stands, saying that they were created when the user has an immense void in their heart, citing such examples as Metallica, Bad Company, and Harvest. Voodoo Child is another one of Fugo's allies completing the team and is a close-range power type stand that resembles a rodent and has the ability to excavate residual thoughts. Anywhere the stand punches will manifest into human-like lips and begin to recite the deepest feelings of guilt, secrecy, and anger from the people who stood there in the past, the thoughts people feel ashamed of and would never say out loud. It's almost as if the intensity of these thoughts remain in the ground like an earthbound spirit, and Voodoo Child exercises those thoughts. The lips can also be used just to bite people, and the user can speak through any of them to create distractions. So while this acts as a support stand to track and gain intel similar to Moody Blues or even Underworld, it's also an incredible fighter, having a B in destructive power and A in speed. And on top of this, if this stand makes contact with a person, it can excavate their most destructive thoughts. It's said this verbal abuse would cause most people to die from shock. Voodoo Child's user is Sheila E, an alias assumed after the goddess of revenge Irenaeus, as she was seeking revenge on a man named Beluso who killed her sister. Sheila E was also the youngest member to pass the entrance exam at the age of 10 and quickly climbed the ranks by taking on high-risk jobs because she had nothing to live for and could only get closer to La Squadra by going further into the organization, and would eventually become a bodyguard for the boss. Sheila E is now 15 years old when Giorno took over and learned from him personally that Aluso had been killed. This causes her to feel indebted to Giorno and remains a personal bodyguard. She was also the one who escorted Fugo to the meeting with Mista and is sent on this mission as Giorno felt she needed to find her own sense of courage, the courage to actually value her life and know when to step away. Contrasting Fugo's character arc, Sheila E is also a music reference to the artist of the same name who used to play with Prince. Rainy Day, Dream Away is truly a terrifying stand that simply manifests as a light rain nearly indistinguishable from natural rainfall besides the small crying faces found on the droplets, similar to Metallica. This stand has a massive area of effect, able to cover the entirety of Taormina, Sicily, which is roughly 13 square kilometers, and because each raindrop is a part of this stand, that would make it the largest colony stand in JoJo. Its ability is to lock sensations within the mind and can affect anyone within its rainfall. For example, if for a split second you tripped ever so slightly and your body felt the sensation of falling, that brief moment when your heart drops, this stand could permanently lock your mind into that feeling.
That's terrible. Bro, some of these stands, you would think, right, like Chocolat, right? Chocolat had like some bullshit. And then you hear some stand like this. I'm like, rain? What if for a split second you get a little sad because you thought of some fucked up shit and then you get hit with a raindrop? You're fucked, bro. You're permanently in just depressed mode, bro. You're just like, Bro, one thing I know about the JoJo universe is that there's always a stronger stand than yours. You may think you have the coolest and strongest stand. Hell no, somebody out there got a better stand than you. And more deadly, bro.
Forever. This mental effect is so strong it will actually affect reality, such as when Fugo was locked into the feeling of vertigo, he physically began to fall sideways, just sliding across flat ground. And this effect persists with an infinite range, as the ability self-sustains off of the target's mental energy. This lock effect can also be applied to emotions such as fear and anxiety, and it's said that if this stand were to lock someone into a passing irrational thought, it would actually make their misconception come true, like the thought of dying from an illness. The only way to escape this ability is to override your sensation with a greater and real sensation to break the feedback loop. So when Fugo was falling sideways, he redirected himself to fall upwards and then back down, and the feeling of actually free falling and outpacing the rain broke the mental trap. Rainy Day Dream Away's user is Vladimir Kosici, the leader of the drug team who, despite his authority and cruel ability, has a gentle nature. In fact, he first awoke his ability in 1943 during the Allied invasion of Sicily, where he was trying to flee with his sister, but she was caught in the crossfire. And in her final breaths, Vladimir used his stand for the first time to lock the sensation of everlasting peace and allowed his sister to live a full and beautiful life in just a matter of seconds. And if we think back to Morello's analysis that colony stands are born from a void in one's heart, this reigns true once again. His name is also in reference to the Albanian Sicilian musician Vladimir Kosici. Nightbird Flying is the final stand of the drug team, which did appear earlier, although it's not until the final arc that we see the full extent of its power. This stand takes the form of a small mechanical bird with exceptional range and tracking, being attracted to souls, and is able to locate and keep pace with a helicopter. This stand creates a huge area of effect and attacks indiscriminately and induces symptoms of a drug overdose. The exact effects of this overdose can vary from person to person. When it attacked Fugo's team in the helicopter, for example, Fugo had experienced a prolonged hallucination that replayed his life from college to his time in Passione, but was remembered completely differently, being a much more idyllic life and altered all of his hardships, showing that he was losing a grip on reality. Also caught in this attack was Marolo, who was knocked out cold, foaming at the mouth, and their pilot had such a terrible nightmare he bit off his own tongue. So you are able to resist the stand's effect if you have a strong enough will, but are still considerably impaired. Nightbird Flying's user is Angelica Attanasio, a frail 14-year-old girl with a rare blood disease that makes her existence extremely painful, and has become dependent on manic depression's drugs to help alleviate her symptoms. Because of this, her personality and stand are often unfocused and unpredictable, and Angelica is mostly absent-minded, because she's high all the time, but still manages to enjoy parts of life and develops a special bond with Massimo for taking care of her. Once the narcotics team discovered that their leader Kosuchi had been defeated, the group become desperate and turn towards an ancient artifact that could make Massimo unstoppable. They remember the words that Kosuchi once told them, how Sicily was the perfect location of their counterattack, not only because Passione lacked influence in southern Italy, but because of a secret artifact that had been hidden there since World War II. The German Nazis' secret weapon of immortality that was lost in the war. A stone mask was here in Sicily. Eventually Vittorio procures the mask, which was hidden in the cathedral.
What? A stone mask? World War II? Immortality? The Nazis? Stronheim.
Of Syracuse, and we see it activate, although it's intercepted by all along the watchtower and destroyed by Marolo, who reveals his true mission was to find and destroy the mask, which was specifically given to him by Giorno. And funny enough, Giorno would have done this job himself, but he assumed he was prohibited by the Speedwagon Foundation and Jotaro Kujo to go anywhere near it due to his family history. So obviously the stone mask is not a stand, but still a supernatural phenomena within the story. Abilities reflect their users' personalities. If your spirit changes, so does your ability. These are the words Marolo had uttered when bearing witness to Fugo's final assault on Massimo Volpe. An attack so visceral and shocking, it could only mean one thing: Fugo and his Purple Haze have evolved. Purple Haze Distortion is the matured version of Fugo's stand, which embraces the contradictory nature of his own soul and is able to exist only after Fugo accepts this about himself, and is ultimately able to find a sense of confidence and determination, standing strong like a spitting image of Bucciarati as Fugo faces off against Massimo and does the unthinkable, storing one of Purple Haze's capsules within his mouth and bites down on it, releasing the virus, and waiting until Massimo is right in front of him before spitting out an extremely concentrated and viral dose.
He hit him with the Oscar special, the green mist in WWE. He said, purple mist? Insane, bruh.
Directly into Massimo's face, which liquefies his body nearly instantly, being a far greater onslaught than the standard virus, while Fugo remains standing strong. So the explanation behind the distortion is that the virus has evolved to a much stronger virus that is capable of attacking everything, even itself and other viruses. So the stand is not at its strongest when first released, as when the capsule breaks, the virus will first begin to cannibalize itself before anything else, which makes the virus amplify with only the strongest cells remaining in the end, and then will expand beyond itself. So it's the action of pulling your punches, or hesitation, that allows the virus to grow and create the strongest attack, a contradictory nature but one that reflects Fugo's soul. And these stages of the distortion virus almost retell the events of Fugo's life. When he was faced with the expectation of action, he hesitated, he couldn't move, and fell into a depression, a cannibalization of the soul, only to come out stronger in the end and reach his full potential. Although through this evolution, Fugo still does not become immune to his virus, and this attack had caused permanent damage to his body, but in the end, he completes his mission and puts an end to the narcotics team, redeeming his character and his previous mistakes without a shadow of a doubt. A week had passed.
Bro, he still got permanently damaged off that shit? Bruh, man, that must suck as a stand. Where, like, you can't even, like, fully utilize your ability because you get hurt by your own shit. Fuck.
since the victory against Massimo and the use of Purple Haze distortion, but Fugo was still in constant pain and unable to eat. The virus had destroyed the inside of his mouth and left his airways raw, making swallowing impossible. He had been getting all of his nutrients through an IV, and alone at a restaurant he sat, summoned by the organization, and wondered if here he would be put out of his misery. But who eventually approached him was a surprise, a young boy with curly blonde hair.
Please tell me Giorno, like healed him, because he has that capability, bruh.
And ladybug-shaped brooches. It was the boss, Giorno Giovanna. Suddenly, Fugo began to smell the aroma of the restaurant. Onions and garlic sauteed in olive oil rushed into his nostrils, and his pain began to slowly fade away. Fugo had been restored by the ability of Giorno's gold experience, the stand with the power to create life energy, which is the final stand to appear in Purple Haze feedback. Alone, the two sat, discussing cuisine, the past, and the future, but their long conversation concludes with Fugo pledging his undying loyalty to Giorno. So long as I may live, my existence will forever be in service of your dream. Please allow me to devote my body, my heart, my soul to you. That is my hope, and that is my future. I am yours, Jojo.
Damn.
And that is every single stand in Purple Haze feedback. Because this is a light novel, the visuals were of course limited, so I relied on some art commissions and a lot of fan art to try to give you a better picture of the events within this story. So every piece of art featured or the artist will be linked in the description if you like their styles. So thank you all so much for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed or love Purple Haze feedback, and subscribe for more JoJo related content.
So this was the entirety of the Purple Haze feedback? Damn. At least he had a good ending. You know, I really thought my boy was gonna live for the rest of his life all fucked up like that. Can't breathe properly. He can't eat. He just gotta get IVs, bro. Oh my god, man. Oh my god. That was amazing. That was a good watch, I'm not gonna lie. That was a good watch. I did not expect that to happen to him. Sonochi no Kyoku. Yo, hold on. He said he didn't want to have Fugo betray the squad because at the time he had a friend betray him, so it felt like killing his friend. Yeah, I think I heard about some shit like that that could have happened, where they said that there was a chance that in an alternate timeline that Fugo would have betrayed them because, you know, he's trying to work for the boss, and that I think it was around the part with Chocolat that they would have ended up killing him. And I'm like, nah, bro, that shit would have been terrible. Story-wise, it would have probably been like an amazing emotional roller coaster, but I ain't gonna lie, I don't think my heart would have been able to take that shit, bro. I'd have been like, nah, bro, killing off like one of the homies that you had since the beginning would have sucked. That would have been a terrible ass. That would have been a terrible ass feeling, no cap. Whole Horse was originally supposed to be a Stardust Crusader. Bro, Whole Horse was badass. I was hoping he could be one. Hold on, chat.